Act 1, Scene 1. Darkness. Then Margaret's voice.
This day I breathed first. Time is come round. And where I did begin, there shall I end.
Lights up on Margaret, asleep in her childhood bedroom in a castle in Provence. Her bed becomes a sea of howling furies who surround her. Her blanket becomes a baby whom she cradles. Joan of Arc appears, picks her up, shouts curses at the Furies, and returns Margaret to her bed, where the baby becomes her blanket.
Théophanie? Théophanie! Comme j'ai passé une nuit horrible, pleine de cauchemars, des images désagréables. Je ne voudrais jamais revivre une pareille nuit.
No, no, no. In English, Margaret.
Oh, I have passed a miserable night, so full of fearful dreams, of ugly sights. I would not spend another such a night, so it were to buy a world of happy days.
Be not afeard, my sweetest Margaret. The night is full of noises and sounds and of sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Tell your piteous heart, there's no harm done.
Oh, Annie nurse, Théophanie, come back. And before I sleep, tell me our family tale. From year to year, the battles, sieges, fortunes that father, mother, you and I have passed.
Come, Margaret, I'll give it to in thine ear. Thy father Rainier once was King of Naples, also the Duke of Anjou and of Maine. He was a king blessed of the King of Kings.
What foul play had we that we came from hence?
When Rainier inherited the Duchy of Lorraine, your mother's uncle, Antoine de Vaudemont, envious of your father's land and state, raised up an army and imprisoned him. When he was released, weakened and overcome, he was besieged by Alphonse of Aragon, whose first intent it was to capture Naples. King Rainier scarce 6,000 in his troop, by 23,000 of his foe, was round encompassed and set upon. Your father fought as bravely as he could, but even so he was not strong enough. So now Rainier retains the name of king, but little of the power.
Have I deserved to lose my birthright thus? Am I a queen, in title and in style, and must be made a subject first of Aragon, and now of England too? Had father loved me half so well as thee, he would have left his dearest heart's blood there, rather than thee give his kingdom up, his daughter to the wolves. When I have a mouth, I'll bite. When I have my liberty, I'll do my liking. I shall be queen. My children shall be kings.
Wipe thou thine eyes, have comfort. Lie there, my heart. Oh, little pair, close now your weary eyes, and dream of all that shall become of thee. Will you be queen or lady of the court? Take the golden round that belongs to thee. Will your tree bear fruit? Will love come to thee? Will your dreams be born in your progeny? Oh, little bear, close now your little eyes, and dream of all that shall become of thee.
The rocking chair on which Theophany sits becomes the chorus of furies. As the scene swirls round the pair, Margaret grows from a child into a young woman. Scene 2. Margaret is alone at play. Theophany enters unnoticed with William de la Pole, Marquis of Suffolk.
Am I? A shepherd's daughter, my wit untrained in any kind of art. Lo, whilst I waited on my tender lambs, God's mother deigned to appear to me, and in a vision full of majesty willed me to leave my base vocation and free my country from calamity.
Oh, fairest beauty, do not fear, nor fly, for I will touch thee but with reverent hands. I kiss these fingers for eternal peace, and lay them gently on thy tender side.
Who dares touch me with unworthy hands?
A marquess I am, and Suffolk am I called. Be not offended, nature's miracle. Thou art allotted to be ta'en by me. So doth the swan her downy cygnets save, keeping them prisoner underneath her wings. Yet if this servile usage once offend, go, and be free again, as Suffolk's friend.
Say, Marquis of Suffolk, if thy name be so, what ransom must I pay before I pass? I perceive I am thy prisoner.
Say, gentle princess, would you not suppose your bondage happy to be made a queen?
To be a queen in bondage is more vile than is a slave in base servility, for princes should be free.
And so shall you, if happy England's royal king be free.
Why, what concerns his freedom unto me?
I'm sent to France to make thee Henry's queen, to put a golden scepter in thy hand, and set a precious crown upon thy head. But thou must condescend to be my...
What?
his love.
I am unworthy to be Henry's wife.
Your wondrous rare description, sweet princess, has bred love's settled passions in his heart, and like as rigor of tempestuous gusts provokes the mightiest hulk against the tide, so is he driven by breath of your renown, either to suffer shipwreck or arrive where he may have fruition of your love, and peace establish it between these realms.
Now climb us, Margaret, Olympus top, safe out of fortune's shot, and sit aloft, advanced above pale envy's threatening reach.
Therefore, bright star of Venus, give consent that Margaret may be England's royal queen.
I'll have no husband, if it be not he.
5 days I do allot thee for provision to shield thee from the perils of the trip. Then we'll o'er to England with this news and make the marriage to be solemnized. So farewell, Margaret. Set this diamond safe in golden palaces, as it becomes.
Farewell, my lord. Good wishes, praise, and prayers shall Suffolk ever have of Marguerite.
Oh, when thou comest to kneel at Henry's feet, thou mayst breathe him of his wits with wonder. France triumph in thy glorious prophetess.
Margaret and Suffolk cross the English Channel. Scene 3, London, Westminster Abbey, the first meeting of Margaret and King Henry VI. Also present are the Marquess of Suffolk, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, the Duke of York, the Earl of Warwick, and Lord Clifford.
Is this the Lady Margaret?
Even she.
O Lord, that lends me life, lend me a heart replete with thankfulness, for thou hast given me in this beauteous face a world of earthly blessings to my soul.
As by your high imperial majesty I had in charge at my depart for France, as procurator to your excellence, to marry Princess Margaret for your grace. So, in the famous ancient city Tours, I have performed my task and was espoused. And humbly now, upon my bended knee, deliver up my title in the Queen to your most gracious hands, that are the substance of that great shadow I did represent, the happiest gift that ever Marquis gave, the fairest queen that ever king did receive.
Great King of England, and my gracious lord, the mutual conference that my mind hath had, by day, by night, waking or in my dreams, in courtly company, or at my beads with you, mine alderliefest sovereign, makes me the bolder to salute my king with ruder terms, such as my wheat affords, and overjoy of heart doth minister.
Fairest Margaret, I can conceive no kinder sign of love than this kind kiss.
My Lord Protector, so it please your grace, here are the articles of contracted peace between our sovereign and the French King Charles, for 18 months concluded by consent.
Imprimis, it is agreed between the French King Charles and William de la Pole, Marquis of Suffolk, ambassador for Henry, King of England, that the said Henry shall espouse the Lady Margaret, daughter unto Rainier, King of Naples, and crown her Queen of England. Item, it is further agreed between them that the Duchy of Anjou and the County of Maine shall be released and delivered over to the king her father.
Uncle, how now?
Pardon me, gracious lord, some sudden qualm hath struck me at the heart and dimmed mine eyes that I can read no further.
Cousin of York, I pray, read on.
item. It is further agreed between them that the Duchy of Anjou and the County of Maine shall be released and delivered over to the king her father, and she sent over of the King of England's own proper cost and charges without having any dowry.
They please us well. Lord Marquis, kneel down. We here create thee the first Duke of Suffolk.
You know, my lord, your highness was betrothed unto another lady of esteem. How shall we then dispense with that contract and not deface your honor with reproach?
As doth a ruler with unlawful oaths. A poor earl's daughter is unequal odds, and therefore may be broke without offense.
Why, what, I pray, is Margaret more than that? Her father is no better than earl, although in glorious titles he excels.
Yes, my lord, her father is a king, the King of Naples and Jerusalem, and of such great authority in France as his alliance will confirm our peace and keep the Frenchmen in allegiance.
And so the Earl of Armagnac may do, because he is near kinsman unto Charles.
Beside his wealth doth warrant a liberal dower, where Rainier sooner will receive than give.
A dower, my lady? Disgrace not so your king, that he should be so abject, base, and poor to choose for wealth, and not for perfect love? Whom should we match with Henry, being a king, but Margaret, that is daughter to a king? Her valiant courage and undaunted spirit, more than in women commonly is seen, will answer our hope in issue of a king. For Henry, son unto a conqueror, is likely to beget more conquerors, if with a lady of so high resolve as is fair Margaret, he be linked in love. Then yield, my lords, and here conclude with me that Margaret shall be queen, and none but she.
Come, let us in, and with all speed provide to see her coronation be performed.
Brave peers of England, pillars of the state, to you Duke Humphrey must unload his grief. Your grief, the common grief of all the land. What? Did my brother Henry spend his youth, his valor, coin, people in the wars to conquer France, his true inheritance? Have you yourselves, brave Warwick, valiant York, received deep scars in France and Normandy? Or hath my Duchess Eleanor and myself, with all the learned counsel in the realm, studied so long, stayed in the council house early and late, debating to and fro how France and Frenchmen might be kept in awe? And shall these labors and these honors die? Shall Henry's conquest, my own vigilance, and all your deeds of war die? Oh, peers of England, shameful is this league, fatal this marriage, canceling your fame, blotting your names from books of memory, raising the characters of your renown, defacing monuments of conquered France, undoing all, as all had never been. Suffolk, the new-made duke that rules the roast, hath given the duchy of Anjou and Maine unto the poor King Rainier, whose large style agrees not with the leanness of his purse.
Those provinces these arms of mine did conquer, and are the cities that I got with wounds delivered up again with peaceful words.
For Suffolk's duke may he be suffocate, that dims the honor of this warlike isle. I never read, but England's kings have had large sums of gold and dowries with their wives, and our King Henry gives away his own to match with her that brings no vantages.
She should have stayed in France. And starved in France.
Pride went before, ambition follows him.
While these do labor for their own preferment, behooves it us to labor for the realm. Thus give me leave to satisfy myself in craving thy opinion of my title, which is infallible to England's crown.
Sweet York, begin, and if thy claim be good, loyal Warwick is thy subject to command.
Edward III, my lord, had 7 sons. The first, Edward the Black Prince, Prince of Wales. The second, William of Hatfield. And the third, Lionel, Duke of Clarence. Next to whom was John of Gaunt, the Duke of Lancaster. The fifth was Edmund Langley, Duke of York. The sixth was Thomas of Woodstock, Duke of Gloucester. William of Windsor was the 7th and last. Edward the Black Prince died before his father, and left behind him Richard, his only son, who, after Edward III's death, reigned as king, till Henry Bolingbroke, Duke of Lancaster, the eldest son and heir of John of Gaunt, crowned by the name of Henry IV, seized on the realm, deposed the rightful king, sent his poor queen to France from whence she came, and him to Pomfret, where, as you do know, harmless Richard was murdered traitorously.
Thus got the House of Lancaster the crown,
which now they hold by force and not by right. For Richard, the first son's heir, being dead, the issue of the next son should have reigned.
But William of Hatfield died without an heir.
The third son, Duke of Clarence, from whose line I claim the crown, had issue. Philippa, a daughter, who married Edmund Mortimer, Earl of March. Edmund had issue, Roger, Earl of March. Roger had issue, Edmund, Anne, and Eleanor. Anne, my mother, being heir unto the crown, married Richard, Earl of Cambridge, who was to Edmund Langley, Edward III's 5th son. By her I claim the kingdom. She was heir to Roger, Earl of March, who was the son of Edmund Mortimer, who married Philippa, sole daughter unto Lionel, Duke of Clarence. So, if the issue of the elder son succeed before the younger, I am king.
Henry doth claim the crown from John of Gaunt, the 4th son. York claims it from the 3rd. Till Lionel's issue fails, Gaunt should not reign. It fails not yet, but flourishes in thee and in thy sons. There slips of such a stock. Then, in this private thought, be I the first that shall salute my rightful sovereign with honor of his birthright to the crown. Long live our sovereign Richard, England's king.
I thank thee, Warwick, but I'm not thy king, till I be crowned and that my sword be stained with heart blood of the house of Lancaster. And that's not suddenly to be performed, but with advice and silent secrecy. Do thou as I will in these dangerous days. Join we together for the public good in what we can to bridle and suppress the pride of Suffolk and Gloucester too. In their ambition, they'll destroy themselves and find their deaths if York can prophesy.
My heart assures me that one day the Earl of Warwick shall one day make the Duke of York a king.
And Warwick, this I do assure myself, Richard shall live to make the Earl of Warwick the greatest man in England, but the king.
A dance, celebrating the wedding of King Henry VI to his queen, Margaret. Scene 4. Enter King Henry VI, Queen Margaret, the Duke of York, the Earl of Warwick, the Duke of Suffolk, and Lord Clifford.
France is revolted from the English quite, and all my interest in those territories is utterly bereft me. All is lost. Ireland as well is thronged with unrest, and so we send our dear Lord Clifford hence, to see if he can calm their insolence.
We must supplant those rough, rug-headed kerns, which live like venom where no venom else, but only they have privilege to live. And so to arms, victorious sovereign, to quell the rebels and their accomplices.
Good Clifford, we shall miss thee here at home.
Enter Duke Humphrey and Duchess Eleanor of Gloucester.
All happiness unto my lord the king.
Pardon, my liege, that we have stayed so long.
Nay, Gloucester, know that thou art come too soon, unless thou wert more loyal than thou art.
The purest spring is not so free from mud, as I am clear of treason to my sovereign. Who can accuse me? Wherein am I guilty?
If thou beest pure, needs your grace to be protector of his excellence.
Madam, I am protector of the realm, and at his pleasure will resign my place.
Resign it then, and leave thine insolence. 'Tis thought, my lord, that you took bribes of France, and being protector, stayed the soldiers' pay, by means whereof his highness hath lost France.
Is it but thought so? What are they that think it? I never robbed the soldiers of their pay, nor took 1 penny bribe from France.
No, many a pound of our own proper store, because he would not tax the needy commons, have we dispersed it to the garrisons, and never asked for restitution.
It serves you well, my lady, to say so much.
We say no more than truth, so help me God.
Since thou wert king, and who is king but thou? The Dauphin hath prevailed beyond the seas. The Irish smell of rebellion and unrest, and all the peers and nobles of the realm have been as bondmen to thy sovereignty.
Thy sumptuous buildings and thy wife's attire have cost a mass of public treasury.
Thy sale of offices and towns in France, if they were known, as the suspect is great, would make thee quickly hop without thy head.
Prove this, and I lie open to the law. But God in mercy, so deal with my soul as I in duty love my king and country.
My lord of Gloucester, 'tis my special hope that you will clear yourself of all suspense. My conscience tells me you are innocent.
Gracious Lord, these days are dangerous. Virtue is choked with foul ambition, and charity chased hence by rancor's hand. The ancient proverb will be well affected. A staff is quickly found to beat a dog.
Contemptuous, base-born callet of a queen. Could I come near your beauty with my nails, set my 10 commandments in your face?
My Lord of Suffolk, say, is this the guise? Is this the fashion in the court of England? What, shall King Henry be a pupil still under the surly Gloucester's governance? Am I a queen in title and in style, and must be made a subject to a duke? I tell thee, Paul, when in the city tour thou ranst a tilt in honor of my love, and stolest away the ladies' hearts of France, I had thought King Henry had resembled thee in courage, courtship, and proportion, but all his mind is bent to holiness. I would the College of the Cardinals would choose him Pope and carry him away to Rome. That were a state fit for his holiness.
Madam, be patient. As I was cause your highness came to England, so will I in England work your grace's full content.
Not all these lords, beside the haughty protector, have we Warwick and grumbling York, and not the least of these, but can do more in England than the king.
York and Warwick are no simple peers.
Not all these lords do vex me half so much as that proud dame. The Lord protect her as a wife. She sweeps it through the court with troops of ladies, more like an empress than Duke Humphrey's wife. She bears a duke's revenues on her back, and in her heart she scorns our poverty. She vaunted mongst her minions t'other day, the very train of her worst wearing gown was better worth than all my father's lands, till Suffolk gave 2 dukedoms for his daughter.
Madam, myself have limed a bush for her, and placed a choir of such enticing birds that she will light to listen to the lays, and never mount to trouble you again. For Gloucester's wife is known to be a witch, and we will bring her darkest deeds to light. So let her rest, and madam, list to me. For I am bold to counsel you in this. Although we fancy not Warwick and York, yet must we seem to join our powers with theirs, till we have brought Duke Humphrey to disgrace. So one by one we'll weed them all at last, and you yourself shall steer the happy helm.
Scene 5. Eleanor and other cloaked figures, the witches, enter in a grim midnight ceremony. Also Queen Margaret, the Duke of Suffolk, and his men, disguised.
Welcome, friends. The silence of the night, when spirits walk and ghosts break up their graves. That time best fits the work we have at hand. A spirit raised from depth of underground that shall make answer to such questions as by myself shall be propounded it. We will make fast within a hallowed verge. Were I a man, a duke, and next of blood, I would remove these tedious stumbling blocks and pave my way upon their headless necks. And being woman, I will not be slack to play my part in fortune's pageant. Put forth my hand, reach at the glorious gold, Margaret will kneel down to me. Show me, while the world does ebb away, the soul with future secrets in its eyes.
And so I am here.
Asmath, by the eternal God whose name and power thou tremblest at, answer that I shall ask. For till thou speakst, thou shalt not pass from hence.
Ask what thou wilt.
Tell me, what awaits the Duke of Suffolk?
By righteous shall he die, and take his end.
And of the king, what shall of him become?
The Duke yet lives that Henry shall depose, but him outlive and die a violent death.
And now of Margaret, how shall her life end?
The spirit inhales, but before it can speak, Suffolk and his men take off their hoods, and the spell is broken.
Lay hands upon this traitor and her trash. My Lord Protector will, I doubt it not, see you well guerdoned for these good deserts.
Scene 6. The Parliament at Westminster. Queen Margaret, the Duke of Suffolk, King Henry VI, Duke Humphrey of Gloucester, the Earl of Warwick, the Duke of York, and Duchess Eleanor.
A sort of naughty persons, lewdly bent, under the countenance and confederacy of Lady Eleanor, the Protector's wife, the ringleader and head of all this rout, raising up wicked spirits from underground, have practiced dangerously against the state. Stand forth, Dame Eleanor Cobham, Gloucester's wife. In sight of God and us, your guilt is great. Receive the sentence of the law for sins such as by God's book are adjudged to death. You, madam, for you are more nobly born, despoiled of your honor in your life, shall, after 3 days open penance done, live in banishment in the Isle of Man.
And now your everlasting farewells take. We'll leave you to it, but you must make haste.
Gloucester, see here the tincture of thy nest, and look thyself be faultless, thou wert best.
Gloucester, hide thee from their hateful looks, and in thy closet pent up rue my shame, and curse thine enemies, both thine and mine.
Eleanor, the law thou seest hath judged thee. I cannot justify whom the law condemns.
Oh, Humphrey, can I bear this shameful yoke? Sometime I'll say I am Duke Humphrey's wife, and he a prince and ruler of the land. Yet so he ruled, and such a prince he was, as he stood by, whilst I, his forlorn duchess, was made a wonder and a pointing stock to every idle rascal follower. But be thou mild, and blush not at my shame, nor stir nothing till the axe of death hang over thee. As sure it shortly will. For Suffolk, he that can do all in all with her that hateth thee and hates us all, have fly mid bushes to betray thy wings, and fly thou how thou canst, they'll tangle thee. But fear not thou to thy foot be snare, nor never seek prevention of thy foes.
Ah, Nell, forbear. Thou aimest all awry. I must offend before I be attainted, and had I 20 times as many foes, and each of them 20 times their power, all these could not procure me any scathe, so long as I am loyal, crimeless, true.
Thou art a fool. But comfort go with thee, for none abides with me. My joy is death. Death, at whose name I oft had been afeared, because I wished this world's eternity. Now, Rainier's daughter, Margaret of Anjou, take with thee through thy life my grievous curse. Bloody thou art, bloody will be thy end. Shame serves thy life, and doth thy death attend. Dark shall be thy light, and night thy day. To look upon thy pomp will be thy hell.
My eyes are full of tears, my heart of grief. Ah, Humphrey, this dishonor and thine age will bring thy head with sorrow to the ground. I beseech your majesty, give me leave to go. Sorrow would solace and mine age would ease.
Stay! Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester, give up thy staff. I see no reason why a king of years should be to be protected like a child. God and King Henry govern England's realm. Give up thy staff, sir, and the king his realm.
Give up thy staff. Henry will to himself protector be, and God will be my guide, my stay, and hope, and lanthorn to my feet. And go in peace, Humphrey, no less beloved than when thou wert protector to thy king.
My staff. Here. Noble Henry is my staff. As willingly do I the same resign as ere thy father, Henry, made it mine. And even as willingly at thy feet I leave it, as others would ambitiously receive it.
Why, now is Henry king, and Margaret queen. This staff of honor wrought, there let it stand, where it best fits to be, in Henry's hand.
Ah, thus King Henry throws away his crutch before his legs be firm to bear his body. Thus is the shepherd beaten from thy side. In wolves are gnarling who shall gnaw thee first. Farewell, good king. When I am dead and gone, may honorable peace attend thy throne.
Can you not see, or will ye not observe, the strangeness of his altered countenance? With what a majesty he bears himself, how insolent of late he has become, how proud, how peremptory, and unlike himself. Great men tremble when the lion roars, and Duke Humphrey is no little man in England. First note that he is near you in descent, and should you fall, he is the next will mount. Meseemeth then it is no policy, respecting what a rancorous mind he bears, and his advantages following your decease, that he should be allowed to come about your royal person, or be admitted your highness' counsel. My lords of Suffolk, Warwick, and of York, reprove my allegations if you can, or else conclude my words effectual.
Smooth runs the water where the brook is deep, and in his simple show he harbors treason. The fox barks not when he would steal the lamb. No, no, my sovereign. Gloucester is a man unsounded yet, and full of deep deceit.
Did he not in his protectorship levy great sums of money through the realm for soldiers' pay in France, and never sent it, by means whereof the towns each day revolted?
Duchess by his subornation upon my life began her devilish practices. Yet this is petty fault to fault unknown, which time will bring to light in smooth Duke Humphrey.
My lords, at once! The care you have of us to mow down thorns that would annoy our foot is worthy praise, but shall I speak my conscience? Our kinsman, Gloucester, is as innocent of meaning treason to our royal person as is the sucking lamb or harmless dove.
What's more dangerous than this fond defiance? Seems he a dove. His feathers are but borrowed, for he's disposed as the hateful raven. Is he a lamb? His skin is surely lent him, for he's inclined as are the ravenous wolves. Take heed, my lord, the welfare of us all hangs on the cutting short that fraudful man.
My lords, what to your wisdoms seemeth best, do or undo, as if ourself were here.
I will arrest him in his highness' name, and here commit him to my lord of Suffolk to keep until his further time of trial.
But will your highness leave the parliament?
Aye, Margaret. My heart is drowned with grief, whose flood begins to flow within mine eyes. My body round and girt with misery. For what's more miserable than discontent? Ah, Uncle Humphrey, in thy face I see the map of honor, truth, and loyalty. And yet, good Humphrey, is the hour to come that ere I proved thee false or feared thy faith? What lowering star now envies thy estate that these great lords and Margaret, our queen, do seek subversion of thy harmless life? His fortunes I will weep, and twixt each groan say, who's a traitor? Gloucester, he is none.
This Gloucester should be quickly rid the world, to rid us of the fear we have of him.
Then to preserve my sovereign from his foe, say but the word, and I will be his priest.
Here is my hand. The deed is worthy doing.
Scene 7. King Henry's private chamber.
Go call our uncle to our presence straight. Say we intend to try his grace today, if he be guilty, as 'tis published.
I'll call him presently, my noble lord.
God forbid any malice should prevail, that faultless may condemn a noble man. Pray God we may acquit him of suspicion.
I thank thee, Meg, these words content me much. How now? Why look'st thou pale? Why tremblest thou? Oh, where is our uncle? What's the matter, Suffolk?
Dead in his bed, my lord. Gloucester is dead.
Mary, God forfend.
Oh, heavenly God.
How fares my gracious lord?
Comfort, my sovereign, gracious Henry, comfort.
What doth my lord of Suffolk comfort me? Lay not thy hands on me. Forbear, I say, their touch affrights me as a serpent's sting. Thou baleful messenger, out of my sight! Upon thy eyeballs murderous tyranny sits in grim majesty to fright the world.
Why do you rate my lord of Suffolk thus? Although the Duke was enemy to him, yet he most Christian-like laments his death. And for myself, foe as he was to me, might liquid tears, or heart-offending groans, or blood-consuming sighs recall his life, I would be blind with weeping, sick with groans, look pale as primrose with blood-drinking sighs, and all to have the noble Duke alive.
Oh, woe is me for Gloucester, wretched man.
Art thou like the adder, waxen deaf? Be poisonous too, and kill thy forlorn queen. Was I for this night wracked upon the sea? Was twice by awkward wind from England's bank drove back again into my native clime? Clever vaulting sea refused to drown me, knowing thou wouldst have me drown on shore through tears, as salt as sea through thy unkindness. I can no more. Die, Margaret, for Henry weeps that thou dost live so long.
It is reported, mighty sovereign, that good Duke Humphrey traitorously is murdered by Suffolk, a false traitor to the crown.
That he is dead, good Warwick. 'Tis too true, but how he died, God knows, not Henry. Enter his chamber, view his breathless corpse, and comment then upon his sudden death.
That shall I do, my liege.
O thou that judgest all things, stay my thoughts that labor to persuade my soul some violent hands were laid on Humphrey's life.
The Earl of Warwick and the guards bring on the body of Gloucester.
Come hither, gracious sovereign. View this body.
That is to see how deep my grave is made. For with his soul fled all my worldly solace. In seeing him, I see my life in death.
I do believe that violent hands were laid upon the life of this thrice-famed Duke.
A dreadful oath, sworn with a solemn tongue. What instance gives Lord Warwick for his vow?
Oft have I seen a timely parted ghost, of ashy semblance, meager, pale, and bloodless. See, his face is black and full of blood. His eyeballs further out than when he lived, staring full ghastly like a strangled man. His hair upreared, his nostrils stretched with struggling, his hands abroad displayed as one that grasped and tugged for life and was by strength subdued.
Why, Warwick, who should do the Duke to death?
You were vowed good Duke Humphrey's foe, and 'tis well seen he found an enemy.
Are you the butcher? Suffolk, where's your knife?
Say, if thou darest, proud Lord Warwickshire, that I am faulty in Duke Humphrey's death.
What dares not Warwick, if false Suffolk dare him?
He dares not calm his contumelious spirit, nor cease to be an arrogant controller, though Suffolk dare him 20,000 times.
Madam, be still. With reverence, may I say, for every word you speak in his behalf is slander to your royal dignity.
Blunt-witted lord, ignoble in demeanor. If ever lady wronged her lord so much, thy mother took into her blameful bed some stern untutored churl, and noble stock was graft with crab-tree slip, whose fruit thou art, and never of the Nevilles' noble race.
But that the guilt of murder bucklers thee, and I should rob the deathsman of his fee, quitting thee thereby of 10,000 shames. I would, false, murderous, coward, on thy knee make thee beg pardon for thy passed speech, say it was thy mother that thou meant'st, that thou thyself was born in bastardy, and after all this fearful homage done, give thee thy hire, and send thy soul to hell, pernicious bloodsucker of sleeping men.
Thou shalt be waking while I shed your blood.
Dread Lord, the commons send you word by me. Unless Lord Suffolk straight be done to death, or banished fair England's territories, they will by violence tear him from your palace, and torture him with grievous, lingering death. They say, by him the good Duke Humphrey died. They say in him they fear your highness' death. They say in care of your most royal person that they will guard you where you will or no from such fell serpents as false Suffolk is.
'Tis like the commons, rude, unpolished hinds, could send such message to their sovereign.
Go, Duke of York, and tell them all from me. I thank them for their tender, loving care. And had I not been cited so by them, yet did I purpose as they do entreat. For sure, my thoughts do hourly prophesy mischance unto my state by Suffolk's means. And therefore by his majesty, I swear, whose far unworthy deputy I am, He shall not breathe infection in this air, but 3 days longer on the pain of death.
Oh, Henry. Henry, let me plead for gentle Suffolk.
Ungentle queen, to call him gentle Suffolk! No more, I say! If thou dost plead for him, thou wilt but add increase unto my wrath. When I have said, I would have kept my word, but when I swear, it is irrevocable. If after 3 days' time thou here beest found on any ground that I am ruler of, the world will not be ransom for thy life. Come, Warwick, come, good Warwick, go with me. I fear I am not in my perfect mind.
His chance and sorrow go along with you. Heart's discontent and sour affliction be playfellows to keep you company. There's York and Warwick, the devil make a third, and threefold vengeance tend upon your steps.
Cease, gentle queen, these execrations, and let thy Suffolk take his heavy leave.
Fie, coward woman and soft-hearted wretch, hast thou not spirit to curse thy enemies?
A plague upon them. Wherefore should I curse them? Would curses kill, as doth the mandrake's groan? I would invent as bitter searching terms, as cursed, as harsh and horrible to hear, as lean-faced envy in her loathsome cave. Aye, every joint should seem to curse and ban. And even now my burdened heart should break, should I not curse them. Poison be their drink, gall, worse than gall, the daintiest that they taste, their chiefest prospect, murdering basilisks, their softest touch as smart as lizard stings, all foul terrors in dark-seated hell.
Enough, sweet Suffolk, thou torments thyself, and these dread curses, like the sun gainst glass, or like an o'ercharged gun, recoil and turns the force of them upon thyself. Oh, could this kiss be printed in thy hand, that thou mightst think upon these by the seal, through whom 1,000 sighs I breathed for thee. So get thee gone, that I may know my grief. It is but surmised while thou art standing by. I will repeal thee, or, be well assured, adventure to be banished myself. And banished I am, if but from thee.
If I depart thee, I cannot live. And in thy sight to die, what were it else but like a pleasant slumber in thy lap? Here could I breathe my soul into the air, as mild and gentle as the cradle babe dying with mother's dug between its lips, where from thy sight I should go raging mad, and cry out for thee to close up mine eyes, to have thee with thy lips to stop my mouth. So shouldst thou either turn my flying soul, or I should breathe it so into thy body, and it lived in sweet Elysium. For where thou art, there is the world itself. And where thou art not, desolation. Oh, let me stay, befall what may befall.
Away, though parting be a fretful corrosive, it is applied to a deathful wound. To France, sweet Suffolk, let me hear from thee. For wheresoe'er thou art in this world's globe, I'll have an iris that shall find thee out.
I go.
And take my heart with thee.
This way fall I to death.
This way for me.
Margaret discovers she is pregnant. King Henry falls into a state of catatonia. Scene 8. Queen Margaret watches over King Henry. Enter Lord Clifford.
Health and all happiness to my lord the king.
Good Clifford, welcome home from Ireland.
Good morrow to my brave and resolute queen. I read your letters, and from Ireland came amain to see his grace. How fares he now?
Oh, Clifford, look on him that grieves no more. He sleeps in fitful starts distractedly. His eyes are open, but their sense are shut. And none have heard him speak this past 6 months.
Divinest creature, daughter of Rainier, lift up your mournful eyes.
Now, Lord Clifford, that were not called home to pity him, and wish he were renewed, but to defend the diadem's sanctity. The Duke of York's supporters throng the land, and say the kingdom rightfully is his. If they discover Henry thus is ill, they'll use this opportunity to strike.
I do not trust the Duke, as well you know. He's lived too long in England's fairest well, a threat to you and to his majesty. The Irish rebels are frantic with unrest. Send York to Ireland to stop the rage before the wound do grow incurable. For being green, there is great hope of help.
Good Clifford, hie thee hence and send for York. We shall, as gardeners with roses doth, cut off the heads of too fast growing sprays that look too lofty in our commonwealth. And once he is gone, and with him direful threat, ourselves to Windsor, there to make abode, to retain the name and all the additions to a king, until such time as Henry doth revive.
I am as ever Margaret's to command.
The passage of time. Margaret goes into labor and has a vision of Suffolk's death. Prince Edward is born as Margaret emerges from her nightmare.
Oft have I heard that grief softens the mind and makes it fearful and degenerate. Think therefore on revenge and cease to weep.
Act 2, Scene 1. Darkness. Margaret's voice rings out.
The web of our life is of a mingled yarn, good and ill together.
The Parliament in Westminster Palace. Prince Edward and Catherine Clifford enter, playing.
Take pity of your town and of your people, whilst yet my soldiers are in my command. If not, why in a moment look to see your naked infants pitted upon spikes, while the mad mothers with their howls confused do break the clouds. What say you? Will you yield in this avoid, or guilty in defense be thus destroyed. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge, cry God for Harry, England, and save George!
Thou offerest war when thou shouldst kneel for peace, and seekst for rule, supremacy, and sway, when girls are bound to serve, love, and obey.
Enter Queen Margaret.
Have at you, father.
Mother, hide your face in fear.
Thy enemies will quake when thou art king, and even now thou art a fearsome foe.
Wert thou a boy child, Catherine, I am sure thou'd be the equal man of any king.
Come, Edward, my gracious lord.
Come, my lass.
Will none of you? You'll kiss us hard and speak to us as if we were babies still.
Thought to catch us first.
The children wriggle away, chased by Margaret and Clifford. Enter the Duke of York with his sons, Edward and Richard, and the Earl of Warwick, separately.
Welcome home from Ireland, Prince of York, and welcome to your two stout-hearted sons. It's been 10 years since the birth of Prince Edward, 10 years since Henry's wits began to turn. We thought that both might die by nature's hand, but Edward thrives and Henry's wits returned. As for the Queen, 'twas politically done to send thee packing with a host of men. 'Twas men thou lacked, and she did give them thee. This is the palace of the fearful king, and this the regal seat. Possess it, York, for it is thine and not King Henry's heirs.
Assist me then, sweet Warwick, and I will.
The Duke of York takes the throne. Enter King Henry and Lord Clifford.
My lord, look where the sturdy rebel sits, even in the chair of state. Belike he means, backed by the power of Warwick, that false peer, to aspire unto the crown and reign as king.
From Ireland thus comes York to claim his right and pluck the crown from feeble Henry's head. Is this the visage of a king? King, did I call thee? No, thou art not king. Not fit to govern and rule multitudes, weakened by madness, softened by the years, that head of thine doth not become a crown. That gold must round and girt these brows of mine. Here is a hand to hold a scepter up, and with the same to act controlling laws. Give place. By heaven thou shalt rule no more o'er him whom heaven created for thy ruler.
My king is valiant, wise, and right royal.
We thank thee, Clifford. Say, what news with thee? Nay, do not fright us with an angry look. We are thy sovereign, Clifford. Kneel to us. For thy mistaking so, we pardon thee.
What shall we suffer this? Let's pluck him down. He durst not sit there had your father lived.
Know you not the city favors them, and they have troops of soldiers at their back.
But when the Duke is slain, they'll quickly fly.
Thou factious Duke of York, descend my throne and kneel for grace and mercy at my feet. I am thy sovereign.
I am thine.
For shame, come down. He made thee Duke of York.
It was my inheritance, as the earldom was.
Thy father was a traitor to the crown.
Clifford, thou art a traitor to the crown, and following this usurping Henry.
Where is faith? Where is loyalty? Hast thou not sworn allegiance unto Henry?
I have.
Canst thou dispense with heaven for such an oath?
It is great sin to swear unto a sin, but greater sin to keep a sinful oath. Who can be bound by any solemn vow to do a murderous deed, to rob a man, to force a spotless virgin's chastity, and have no other reason for this wrong but that he was bound by a solemn oath?
A subtle traitor needs no sophister.
Fie! Clifford, fie for shame! Speak not in spite, for you shall sup with Jesu Christ tonight.
Thou stigmatic, that's more than thou canst tell.
If not in heaven, thou surely sup in hell.
Plantagenet, of thee and these thy sons, thy kinsmen and thy friends, I'll have more lives than drops of blood were in our soldiers' veins.
What title hast thou, traitor, to the crown? Thy father was, as thou art, Duke of York, thy grandfather, Roger Mortimer, Earl of March. I am the son of Henry V, who made the Dauphin and the French to stoop and seized upon their towns and provinces.
Talk not of France, if thou hast lost it all.
The Lord Protector lost it, and not I. When I was crowned, I was but 9 months old.
You are old enough now, and yet methinks you lose. Father, tear the crown from the usurper's head.
Great father, do so. Set it on your head.
Let's fight it out and not stand cavilling thus.
Sound drums and trumpets, and the king will fly.
Sons, peace.
Peace thou, and give King Henry leave to speak.
Plantagenet shall speak first. Hear him, lords, and be you silent and attentive too, for he that interrupts him shall not live.
Think'st thou that I will leave my kingly throne, wherein my grandsire and my father sat? No. First shall war unpeople this my realm. My title's good, and better far than his.
Prove it, Henry, and thou shalt be king.
Henry IV by conquest got the crown.
'Twas by rebellion against his king. Henry of Lancaster, resign thy crown.
Do right unto this princely Duke of York, or I will fill the house with armed men, who, as we speak, are waiting at the gates. And o'er the chair of state, where now he sits, write up his title in usurping blood.
Let me for this my lifetime reign as king.
Confirm the crown to me and to mine heirs, and thou shalt reign in quiet while thou livest.
I am content. Richard Plantagenet, enjoy the kingdom after my decease.
What wrong is this unto the prince your son?
What good is this to England and himself?
I cannot stay to hear these articles. I shall away and tell the queen these news. Farewell, faint-hearted and degenerate king, in whose cold blood no spark of honor bides. Be thou prey unto the house of York, and die in bands for this unmanly deed.
Turn this way, Henry, regard him not. Why should you sigh, my lord?
Not for myself, Lord Warwick, but my son, whom I unnaturally shall disinherit. But be it as it may, I here entail the crown to thee and to thine heirs forever, conditionally, that here thou take an oath to cease this civil war, and whilst I live to honor me as thy king and sovereign, and neither by treason nor hostility to seek to put me down and reign thyself.
This oath I willingly take and will perform.
Long live King Henry. Plantagenet, embrace him.
And long live thou, and these thy forward sons.
Now York and Lancaster are reconciled. Accursed be he that seeks to make them foe. Farewell, my gracious lord. I'll to my castle.
And I with grief and sorrow to the court.
Enter Queen Margaret and Prince Edward.
Nay, go not from me, I will follow thee.
Be patient, gentle Margaret, and I will stay.
Who can be patient in such extremes? Ah, wretched man. Would I had died a maid and never seen thee, never borne thee son, seeing thou hast proved so unnatural a father. Hath he deserved to lose his birthright thus? Hadst thou but loved him half so well as I, or felt that pain which I did for him once, or nourished him as I did with my blood, thou wouldst have left thy dearest heart blood there, rather than have made that savage duke thine heir, and disinherited thine only son.
Father, you cannot disinherit me. If you be king, why should I not succeed?
Pardon me, Margaret, and pardon me, sweet son. The Earl of Warwick and the Duke enforced me.
Enforced thee? Art thou king, and wilt be forced? I shame to hear thee speak. Ah, timorous wretch! Thou hast undone thyself, thy son, and me, and given unto the house of York such head as thou shalt reign but by their sufferance, to entail him and his heirs unto the crown. What is it but to make thy sepulchre, and creep into it far before thy time? Had I been there, which am a silly woman, the soldiers should have tossed me on their pikes before I had granted to that act. But thou preferrest thy life before thy honor, and seeing thou dost, I here divorce myself, Henry, both from thy table and thy bed, until that act of Parliament be repealed, whereby my son is disinherited. The northern lords that have forsworn thy colors will follow mine if once they see them spread. And spread they shall be, to thy foul disgrace and utter ruin of the house of York. Thus do I leave thee. Come, son, let's away. Our army is ready. Come, we'll after them.
Stay, gentle Margaret, and hear me speak.
Thou hast spoke too much already. Get thee gone.
Gentle son Edward, thou wilt stay with me.
Aye, to be murdered by his enemies.
When I return with victory from the field, I'll see you. I'll see your grace. Until then, I'll follow her.
Come, son, let's away. We may not linger thus.
Scene 2, the Duke of York's castle. His sons, Richard and Edward.
Brother, though I'm younger, give me leave.
No, I can better play the order.
Why, how now, my good sons, at a strife? What is your quarrel? I'll begin it first.
No quarrel, but a slight contention.
About what?
About that which concerns your grace and us. The crown of England, father, which is yours.
Mine, boy? Not till King Henry be dead.
Your right depends not on his life or death.
Now you are heir. Therefore enjoy it now. By giving the House of Lancaster leave to breathe, it will outrun you, father, in the end.
I took an oath that he should quietly reign.
But for a kingdom, any oath may be broken. I would take 1,000 oaths to reign 1 year.
No! God forbid your grace should be forsworn.
I shall be if I claim by open war.
I'll prove the contrary, if you'll hear me speak.
Thou canst not, son, it is impossible.
An oath is of no moment, being not took before a true and lawful magistrate that hath authority over him who swears. Henry had none, but did usurp the place. Then, seeing 'twas he that made you to depose, your oath, my lord, is vain and frivolous. Therefore, to arms! And father, do but think how sweet a thing it is to wear a crown, within whose circuit is Elysium, and all that poets feign of bliss and joy.
Richard, enough. I will be king or die.
Enter the Duke of York's youngest son, Rutland.
Sweet Rutland, what news?
The Queen, with all the northern earls and lords, intend here to besiege us in our castle. She is hard by with 20,000 men, and therefore fortify your hold, my lord.
Aye, with my sword, what? Think'st thou that we fear them? Edward and Richard, you shall stay with me. Let Warwick, left protector of the king, with powerful policy strengthen himself, and trust not simple Henry nor his oaths. Now, Rutland, hide yourself in some safe room. The army of the Queen mean to besiege us.
She shall not need. We'll meet her in the field.
What, with 5,000 men?
Aye, with 500, father, for a need. A woman's general. What should we fear?
I hear their drums. Let's set our men in order and issue forth and bid them battle straight.
5 men to 20. Though the odds be great, I doubt not, my sons, of our victory.
A battle between the houses of York and Lancaster. Scene 3. King Henry sits by a window. Catherine Clifford plays at his feet. Outside, the battle rages.
This battle fares like to the morning's war, when dying clouds contend with growing light. What time the shepherd, blowing of his nails, can neither call it perfect day nor night. Now sways it this way, like a mighty sea forced by the tide to combat with the wind. And now sways it that way, like the self-same sea forced to retire by fury of the wind. Sometimes the flood prevails and then the wind. Now one the better, then another best. Both tugging to be victors, breast to breast, yet neither conqueror nor conquered. So is the equal poise of this fell war. To whom God will, there be the victory. Your father, Clifford, is a valiant man who fights not knowing what the outcome is with all his spirit and with all his strength. I've tried that life. It's not for me, sweet girl. Would I were dead, if God's good will were so. For what is in this world but grief and woe? Oh God. Methinks it were a happy life to be no better than a homely swain. To carve out dials, quaintly, point by point, thereby to see the minutes how they run. How many makes the hour full complete? How many hours will bring about a day? How many days will finish up the year? How many years a mortal man may live? And when this is known, then to divide the times. So many hours must I tend my flock. So many hours must I take my rest. So many hours must I contemplate. So many hours must I sport myself. So many days my ewes have been with young. So many weeks ere the poor fools will eat. So many years ere I shall shear the fleece. So, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, and years passed over to the end they were created would bring white hairs unto a quiet grave. Ah, what a life for this. How sweet. How lovely. Gives not the hawthorn bush a sweeter shade to shepherds looking on their silly sheep than doth the rich embroidered canopy to kings that fear their subjects' treachery? Oh, yes, it doth. 1,000-fold it doth. And to conclude, the shepherd's homely curds are far beyond a prince's delicates. When care, mistrust, and treason waits on him.
Scene 4. The castle of the Duke of York. The Lancastrian army breaks in. Young Rutland hides. Enter Queen Margaret and Lord Clifford.
Look, Clifford, here is Rutland, son of York. I wonder why the boy should hide his face.
How now, is he dead already? Or is it fear that makes him close his eyes? I'll open them.
Free Clifford! Let me speak before I die. I am too mean a subject for thy wrath. Be thou revenged on men, and let me live.
Had I thy brethren here, their lives and thine were not revenge sufficient for me. No, if I digged up thy fathers' graves and hung their rotten coffins up in chains, it could not slake mine ire nor ease my heart. The sight of any of the house of York is as a fury to torment my soul until I root out their accused line and leave not one alive. I live in hell. Therefore,
Let me pray before I take my death. To thee I pray, sweet Clifford, pity me. Let me live in prison all my days, and when I give occasion of offense, then let me die, for now thou hast no cause.
no cause. Thy father is a traitor. Therefore die.
Clifford kills Rutland. Margaret wipes the blood with her handkerchief. They hide the body. Enter the Duke of York.
The army of the Queen hath cut the field, and hither have they broken in by force. My sons, God knows what hath bechanced them.
Yield to our mercy, proud Plantagenet.
My ashes as the phoenix may bring forth a bird that will revenge upon you all. And in that hope I throw mine eyes to heaven, scorning whate'er you can afflict me with.
Us cowards fight when they can fly no further, breathing invectives against the officers.
Oh, Clifford, but bethink thee once again, and in thy thought o'errun my former time. And if thou canst for blushing view this face, and bite thy tongue that slanders him with cowardice, whose frown hath made thee faint and fly ere this.
I will not bandy with thee word for word, but buckler with thee blows, twice 2 for 1.
Hold, valiant Clifford. I would for 1,000 causes prolong a while the traitor's life.
What would your grace have done unto him now?
Come, make him stand upon this molehill here, that wrought at mountains with outstretched arms, yet parted but the shadow with his hand. What? Was't you that would be England's king? Was't you that revelled in our parliament and made a preachment of your high descent? Where are your mess of sons to back you now? The wanton Edward, that lascivious lout? And where is that valiant, crook-backed prodigy, Dicky, your boy, that with grumbling voice was wont to cheer his dad in mutinies? With the rest, where is your darling Rutland? Look, York, I stained this napkin with the blood that valiant Clifford, with his rapier's point, made issue from the bosom of the boy. And if thine eyes can water for his death, I give thee this, to wipe thy cheeks withal. Alas, poor York, but that I hate thee deadly, I would lament thy miserable state. I prithee, grieve to make me merry, York. Why art thou patient, man? Thou shouldst be mad, and I, to make thee mad, do mock thee thus, stamp, rave, and fret, that I might sing and dance. Thou wouldst be feed, I see, to make me sport. York cannot speak unless he wear a crown. A crown for York! And let's bow low to him whilst we set it on. Hold you his hands whilst I do set it on. Aye. Marry, sir, now looks he like a king. Aye, this is he that took King Henry's chair. This is he, was his adopted heir. But how is it that great Plantagenet is crowned so soon and broke his solemn oath? I bethink me you should not be king until our King Henry had shook hands with death. And will you pale your head in Henry's glory? Rob his temples of the diadem now in his life against your holy oath? Oh, 'tis a fault too unpardonable. Off with the crown, and with the crown his head. And whilst we breathe, take time to do him dead.
My office, for King Henry's sake.
Nay, stay. Let us hear the orisons he makes.
Ye wolf of France, but worse than wolves of France, whose tongue more poisons than the adder's tooth. How ill beseeming is it in thy sex to triumph like an Amazonian troll upon their woes whom fortune captivates. But that thy face is vizard-like, unchanging, made impudent with use of evil deeds, I would essay, proud queen, to make thee blush, to tell thee whence thou camest, of whom derived. Were shame enough to shame thee, wert thou not shameless. Thy father bears the type of King of Naples, of both the Sicils and Jerusalem, yet not so wealthy as an English yeoman. That poor monarch taught thee to insult. It needs not, nor it boots thee not, proud queen, unless the adage must be verified that beggars mounted run their horse to death. 'Tis beauty that doth oft make women proud, but God, he knows thy share thereof is small. 'Tis virtue that doth make them most admired, the contrary doth make thee wondered at. 'Tis government that makes them seem divine, the want thereof makes thee abominable. Ah! Tiger's heart wrapped in a woman's hide. How couldst thou drain the lifeblood of the child, to bid the father wipe his eyes withal, and yet be seen to wear a woman's face? Bidst thou me rage? Well, now thou hast thy wish. Wouldst thou me weep? Well, now thou hast thy will. For raging wind blows up incessant showers, and when the rage allays, the rain begins. These tears are mine, sweet Rutland's obsequies, and every drop cries vengeance for his death against thee, fell Clifford, and thee, false French woman. That face of his, the hungry cannibal, not have touched, would not have stained with blood, but you are more inhuman, more inexorable, oh, 10 times more than tigers of Hyrcania. See, ruthless queen, a hapless father's tears, thy dipped this cloth in blood of my sweet boy, and I with tears do wash the blood away. There. Take the crown, and with the crown my curse. And in thy need such comfort come to thee, as now I reap at thy too cruel hand. Hard-hearted Clifford, take me from the world, my soul to heaven, my blood upon your heads.
Here's for my oath. Here's for the English realm.
And here's to right the gentle-hearted king. Off with his head and set it on York gates, so York may overlook the town of York.
The Duke of York is dragged to the gates of the city, where his head is impaled on a spike. Scene 5. Queen Margaret, King Henry, and Prince Edward stand before the head of York.
Welcome, my lord, to this brave town of York. Yonder's the head of that arch enemy that sought to be encompassed with your crown. Doth not the object cheer your heart, my lord?
Aye, as the rocks fear them that cheer their wrack. To see this sight, it irks my very soul. Withhold revenge, dear God, 'tis not my fault, nor wittingly have I infringed my vow.
My gracious liege, this too much lenity and harmful pity must be laid aside. Ambitious York did level at thy crown, while smiling whilst he knit his angry brow. But he, but a duke, would have his son a king, and raise his issue like a loving sire. Thou, being a king, blessed with a goodly son, didst yield consent to disinherit him, which argued thee a most unloving father. Were it not pity that this goodly boy should lose his birthright by his father's fault, and long hereafter say unto his child, what my great-grandfather and grandsire got, my careless father fondly gave away? What a shame were this! Look on the boy, and let his manly face, which promiseth successful fortune, steel thy melting heart to hold thine own, and leave thine own with him.
Full well hath Margaret played the orator, inferring arguments with mighty force. But tell me, Margaret, didst thou never hear that things ill-got had ever bad success? I'll leave my son my virtuous deeds behind, and would my father had left me no more. Oh, cousin of York, if thy only sons did know how it doth grieve me that thy head is here.
My lord, cheer up your spirits, our foes are nigh. Soft courage will make our followers faint.
Enter Lord Clifford.
Royal commanders, be in readiness. For with a band of 30,000 men comes Warwick, backing Edward, Duke of York. And in the towns as they do march along, proclaim him king, and many fly to him, while brother Richard does infect his ear with pestilent speeches of their father's death. Darraign your battle, for they are at hand.
Enter the Duke of York's sons, Edward and Richard, with the Earl of Warwick.
Now, perjured Henry, wilt thou kneel for grace and set thy diadem upon my head, or bide the mortal fortune of the field?
Go red thy minions, proud insulting boy. Becomes it thee to be thus bold in terms before thy sovereign and thy lawful king?
I am his king, and he should bow his knee. I was adopted heir by his consent, since when his oath is broke. For as I hear, you that are king, though you do wear the crown, have caused him by some new act of parliament to blot me out and put his own son in.
Who should succeed the father but the son?
Are you there, butcher? Oh, I cannot speak.
Aye, Crookback, here I stand to answer thee.
'Twas you that killed young Rutland, was it not?
I and old York, and yet not satisfied.
For God's sake, lords, give signal to the fight. Break off the parley, for scarce I can refrain the execution of my big swollen heart upon that Clifford, that cruel child killer.
Have done with words, my lords, and hear me speak.
Buy them then, or else hold close thy lips.
I prithee give no limits to my tongue. I am a king and privileged to speak.
Our liege, the wound that bred this meeting here cannot be cured by words, therefore be still.
Then, executioner, unsheathe thy sword. By him that made us all, I am resolved that Clifford's manhood lies upon his tongue.
Say, Henry, shall I have my right or no?
If that be right which Warwick says is right, there is no wrong, but everything is right.
Whoever got thee, there thy mother stands. For well I wot thou hast thy mother's tongue.
But thou art neither like thy sire nor dam, but like a foul stigmatic, marked by the destinies to be avoided, as venom toads or lizards' dreadful stings.
Iron of Naples, hid with English guilt, whose father bears the title of a king, as if a channel should be called the sea. Shamest thou not, knowing when thou art extraught, to let thy tongue detect thy base-born heart?
A wisp of straw were worth 1,000 crowns to make this shameless callet know herself. For ne'er was their gentle husband wronged by such false woman as this king by thee. His father revelled in the heart of France and tamed the king and made the Dauphin stoop. And had he matched according to his state, he might have kept that glory to this day. But when he took a beggar to his bed, even then that sunshine brewed a shower for him that washed his father's fortunes forth of France and heaped sedition on his crown at home. For what have broached this tumult but thy pride? Hast thou been meek, our titles still had slept. and we, in pity of the gentle king, had slipped our claim into another age. Yet know thou, since we have begun to fight, we'll never rest till we have hewn thee down, or bathed thy growing in our heated bloods. And in this resolution I defy thee, not willing any longer conference, since thou deniest the gentle king to speak. Sound drums and trumpets, let bloody colors wave, and either victory, or else a grave.
Stay, Edward!
No, wrangling woman, will no longer stay. These words will cost 10,000 lives this day.
My kingdom's lost.
Gracious liege, vouchsafe me one word.
What say you now, Margaret? What wouldst thou have?
For leave and favor to return to France, where I might sway King Louis to our cause. For he is just and always loved us well.
Go then, and take with thee our son. I'll pray the king receive you as a friend.
If God grant us his favor, then shall I return with all the mightiness of France. Good Clifford, stay you here, protect my king. Adieu, my lord, I humbly take my leave.
Queen Margaret and Prince Edward travel to France, while in England the Battle of Towton rages. Scene 6. Richard finds Clifford.
Now, Clifford, I have singled thee alone. Suppose this arm is for the Duke of York, and this for Rutland, both bound to revenge, wert thou environed with a brazen wall.
Now, Richard, I am with thee here alone. This is the hand that stabbed thy father York, and this the hand that slew thy brother Rutland. And here's the heart that triumphs in their death, and cheers these hands that slew thy sire and brother to execute the like upon thyself.
They fight. Richard kills Clifford. Enter Edward and the Earl of Warwick, with King Henry as their prisoner.
Brother, we've shown today our valiant strain, and fortune's led us well. Here is the captive who was the opposite of this day's strife.
A last moan from the body of Clifford.
Whose soul is that which takes its heavy leave?
'Tis he that killed our tender brother Rutland. My rapier's point has made him curse the deed.
Go, brother Gloucester, off with the traitor's head, and rear it in the place our father stands. Now, Henry, where's your proud, insulting bride?
My queen and son are gone to France for aid.
And now to London with triumphant march, there to be crowned England's royal king. From whence shall Warwick cut the sea to France and ask King Louis' sister for thy queen. Margaret is a subtle orator, and Louis a prince soon won with moving words. Aye, but she'll go to beg, Warwick to give.
Even as thou wilt, sweet Warwick, let it be. For in thy shoulder do I build my seat, and never will I undertake the thing wherein thy counsel and consent is wanting. But first, I pray you see our prisoner well conveyed.
I charge you, in God's name and in the king's, to go with me unto the officers.
I, Warwick, lead. Your king's name be obeyed, and what God will, that let your king perform, and what he will I humbly yield unto.
Hence with him to the tower, Let him not speak.
Enter Richard with a stranger.
Brother Edward, the Lady Elizabeth Grey.
Thanks to your highness for receiving me. Until this recent feud twixt Lancaster and York, I was a lady at King Henry's court, and there I cared for Catherine, Clifford's child. But my husband served your family in the wars, and at the Battle of Wakefield lost his life. Because he fought for York, I lost my place, and all our lands have since been confiscate. My suit is now to repossess those lands, which you in justice cannot well deny, because in quarrel of the house of York, my worthy husband thus hath lost his life.
Widow, we will consider of your suit and come some other time to know our mind.
Right, gracious lord, I cannot brook delay. May it please your highness to resolve me now, and what your pleasure is shall satisfy me.
Brother, give us leave. I'll try this widow's wit.
Scene 7. The Court of France. Enter King Louis XI, Queen Margaret, and Prince Edward.
Queen of England, worthy Margaret, sit down with us. It ill befits thy state and birth that thou shouldst stand while Louis doth sit.
No, mighty King of France, now Margaret must strike her sail and learn a while to serve where kings command. I was, I must confess, great Albion's queen in former golden days, but mischance hath trod my title down, and with dishonor laid me on the ground, where I must take like seat unto my fortune, and to my humble state conform myself.
Why, say, fair queen, whence springs this deep despair?
From Henry, sole possessor of my love, who has, once king, now turned a fugitive, while proud, ambitious Edward, Duke of York, usurps the regal title and the seat of England's true anointed lawful king. This is the cause that I, poor Margaret, and this my son, Prince Edward, Henry's heir, am come to crave thy just and lawful aid. And if thou fail us, all our hope is done.
Enter the Earl of Warwick.
And see where comes the breeder of my sorrow.
God he approacheth boldly to our presence.
For Earl of Warwick, Edward's greatest friend.
Welcome, brave Warwick. What brings thee to France?
From worthy Edward, King of Albion, my lord and sovereign and thy vowed friend, I come in kindness and unfeigned love, first to do greetings to thy royal person, and then to crave a league of amity. And lastly, to confirm that amity with nuptial knot, if thou vouchsafe to grant that virtuous Lady Bona, thy fair sister, to England's king in lawful marriage.
Great Louis, King of France, please hear me speak before you answer Warwick. His demand springs not from Edward's well-meant honest love, but from deceit bred by necessity. For how can tyrants safely govern home unless abroad they purchase great alliance.
Now, Warwick, tell me, even upon thy conscience, is Edward your true king?
Thereon, upon my credit and mine honor.
Not lawful chosen?
Thereon, I pawn my credit and mine honor.
But is he gracious in the people's eye?
The more that Henry was unfortunate.
Then further, all dissembling set aside, tell me for truth the measure of his love unto our sister Bona.
Myself have often heard him say and swear that this his love was an eternal plant, whereof the root was fixed in virtue's ground, the leaves and fruit maintained with beauty's sun, exempt from envy, but not from disdain, unless the Lady Bona quite his pain.
Then Warwick thus, our sister shall be Edward's. Draw near, Queen Margaret, and be a witness that Bona shall be wife to the English king.
To Edward, but not to the English king.
Deceitful Warwick, it was thy device by this alliance to make void my suit. Proud set her up and pull her down of kings. Before thy coming, Louis was Henry's friend.
And still his friend to him and the Marguerite.
Enter a messenger.
This message comes from Edward, England's king, who, prey to the charms of the Lady Elizabeth Grey, most suddenly hath wed and made her queen. With reverence doth he beg your sister's pardon, and asks your highness for continued peace.
Is this the alliance that he seeks with France? Dare he presume to scorn us in this manner?
I told your majesty as much before. This proveth Edward's love and Warwick's honesty.
My noble queen, let former grudges pass, and henceforth I am thy true servitor. I will revenge his wrong to Lady Bona and replant Henry in his former state. And if King Louis vouchsafe to furnish us with some few bands of chosen soldiers, I undertake to land them on our coast and force the tyrant from his seat by war.
I firmly am resolved you shall have aid. Thou, Earl of Warwick, with 5,000 men, shall cross the seas and bid false Edward battle. And as occasion serves, this noble queen and prince shall follow with a fresh supply.
Warwick, these words have turned my hate to love. And I forgive and quite forget old faults, and joy that thou becomest King Henry's friend.
The Earl of Warwick is killed at the Battle of Barnet. Scene 8, a Lancastrian camp in the middle of the battlefield at Tewkesbury, where Queen Margaret and Prince Edward have just arrived from France.
What I should speak, my tears gainsay. Father is prisoner to the foe, his state usurped, his realm a slaughterhouse, his subjects slain, his statutes cancelled, and his treasure spent. Uncle Clifford, dead, and with him Warwick too. Alas, sweet mother, I fear the day is lost.
My lord, wise men ne'er sit and wail their loss, but cheerily seek how to redress their harms. What though the mast be now blown overboard, cable broke, the holding anchor lost, and half our sailors swallowed in the flood? Yet lives our pilot still. Is't meet that she should leave the helm, and like a fearful lass with tearful eyes add water to the sea, and give more strength to that which hath too much. Whiles in her moan the ship splits on the rocks, which industry and courage might have saved. What? Say Warwick was our anchor. What of that? Are you not another anchor? We will not from the helm just sit and weep, but keep our course, though the rough winds say no. 'Twere childish weakness to lament or fear.
Methinks a woman of this valiant spirit should, if a coward heard her speak these words, infuse his breast with magnanimity and make him naked, foil a man at arms.
Enter King Edward IV with his brother Richard and soldiers.
Foul, loathsome traitors, have at thee!
What? Can so young a thorn begin to prick?
The soldiers catch and bind Prince Edward.
Oh, Ned, sweet Ned. Traitors, he is but a child.
Edward, what satisfaction canst thou make for bearing arms, for stirring up my subjects, and all the trouble thou hast put me to?
Speak like a subject, proud, ambitious York. Suppose that I am now my father's mouth. Resign thy chair, and where I stand, kneel thou, whilst I propose the selfsame words to thee, which, traitor, thou wouldst have me answer to.
Ah, that thy father had been so resolved.
That you might still have worn the petticoat, and ne'er have stolen the breech from Lancaster.
Let Aesop fable in a winter's night. His courage riddles sort not with this place.
By heaven, brat, I'll plague ye for that word.
I that was born to be a plague to men.
Ah, for God's sake, take away this captive scold.
Nay, take away this scolding crookback, rather.
Peace, willful boy, or I will charm your tongue.
Lascivious Edward, and misshapen Dick. I am your better, traitors as ye are, and thou usurped my father's right and mine.
Take that, the likeness of this railer here.
Sprawlest thou, take that, to end thy agony.
Oh, kill me too.
Marry, and shall.
Hold, Richard, hold. For we have done too much.
Butchers and villains, bloody cannibals.
Why should she live to fill the world with words?
Dispatch me here. Murder is thy alms deed. Where is that devil's butcher, Richard? Hard-favored Richard, where art thou? Dispatch me here. Petitioners for blood thou ne'er put'st back.
We'll hence to London on a serious matter, to make a bloody supper in the Tower.
Richard gags Margaret with a bit of cloth torn from the jacket of her now dead son, and a large cross is formed on stage. Scene 9, the Tower of London. King Henry VI kneels in prayer. Enter Richard.
Good day, my lord. What? Are your prayers so hard?
Aye, my good lord. My lord, I should say, rather, 'tis sin to flatter. What scene of death hath brought us now to act?
Suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. The thief doth fear each bush an officer.
The bird that hath been limed in a bush with trembling wings, misdoubteth every bush. And I, the hapless male to one sweet bird, have now the fatal object in mine eye, where my poor young was limed, was caught, and killed.
Why, what a peevish fool was that of Crete, that taught his son the office of a fowl. And yet, for all his wings, the fool was drowned.
I, Daedalus, my poor son Icarus, thy father Minos that denied our course, the sun that seared the wings of my sweet boy, thy brother Edward, and thyself the sea, whose envious gulf did swallow up his life. But wherefore didst thou come? Is't for my life?
Think'st thou I am an executioner?
A persecutor, I am sure thou art. If murthering innocents be executing, why then thou art an executioner.
Thy son I killed for his presumption.
Hadst thou been killed when first thou didst presume, thou hadst not lived to kill a son of mine. And thus I prophesy that many 1,000 which now mistrust no parcel of my fear shall rue the day that ever thou wast born. The owl shrieked at thy birth, an evil sign. The night crow cried, a boding, luckless time. Thy mother felt more than a mother's pain, yet brought forth less than a mother's hope. Teeth hadst thou in thy head when thou wast born, to signify thou camest to bite the world.
Die, prophet, in thy speech.
Oh God, forgive my sins. Pardon thee.
Do you see how my sword weeps for the poor king's death? Oh, may such purple tears be always shed for those that wish the downfall of our house! Na 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 na.
Scene 10. The court of King Edward IV, Queen Elizabeth with their newborn child, and Richard.
Once more we sit in England's royal throne, repurchased with the blood of enemies. What valiant foemen, like to autumn's corn, have been mowed down in tops of all their pride. Thus have we swept suspicion from our seat and made our footstool of security. Come hither, Bess, and let me kiss my boy. Young Dick, for thee, thine uncle, and myself have in our armors watched the winter's night, that thou mightst repossess the crown in peace.
And now what rests but that we spend the time with stately triumphs, mirthful comic shows, such as befits the pleasure of the court. Sound drums and trumpets, farewell, sour annoy, for here I hope begins our lasting joy.
Hear me, you wrangling pirates that will fall out in sharing that which you have pilled from me. Which of you trembles not that looks on me? Hie thee to hell for shame, and leave this world, thou cacodemons. There thy kingdom is.
Edward and Elizabeth freeze, and suddenly the world consists only of Margaret and Richard.
Foul, wrinkled witch, how dare thou speak to us?
This sorrow that I have by right is yours, and all the pleasures you usurp are mine.
The curse our noble father laid on thee when thou didst falsely crown his warlike brows, and with thy scorns drewst rivers from his eyes, and then to dry them gavest the Duke a cloth steeped in the faultless blood of pretty Rutland. His curses, then from bitterness denounced against thee, are fallen upon thee. And God, not we, have plagued thy bloody deed.
Can curses pierce the clouds and enter heaven? Why then, give way, dull clouds, to my quick curses. Though not by war, by surfeit die your king, as ours by murder to make him king. Richard, thy son that now is Prince of Wales, for Edward, our son, that once was Prince of Wales, die in his youth by like untimely violence. Thyself a queen, for me that was a queen, outlive thy glory like my wretched self. Long mayest thou live to wail thy child's death, and see another, as I see thee now, decked in thy rights, as thou art stalled in mine.
Done thy charm, thou hateful withered hag.
And leave out thee, stay, dog, for thou shalt hear me. If heaven have any grievous plague in store, exceeding those that I can wish upon thee, oh, let them keep it till thy sins be ripe, and then hurl down their indignation on thee, the troubler of the poor world's peace. Thou slander of thy heavy mother's womb, thou rag of honor, thou detested. Richard!
As Margaret speaks the following, Richard hobbles off stage, the king of the next era. The characters left on stage become the Furies and then Margaret's bed.
Poor painted queen. Vain flourish of my fortune. Where is thy husband now? Where is thy son? Who sues and kneels and says, God save the queen? Where be the bending peers that flattered thee? Where be the thronging troops that followed thee? Thus hath the course of justice whirled about and left thee but a very prey to time. With one thing learnt, how to curse thy enemies. Forbear to sleep the night and fast the day. Compare dead happiness with living woe. Think that thy babe was sweeter than it was, and he that slew it fouler than he is. Bettering thy loss makes the bad causer worse. Revolving this will teach thee how to curse.
Scene 11. Margaret lies on her deathbed. Enter Theophany.
Runavak am I, a shepherd's daughter, my wit untrained in any kind of art. Evan and Our Lady gracious hath it pleased to shine on my contemptible estate. Lo, whilst I waited on my tender lambs, and to sun's parching heat displayed my cheeks, God's mother deigned to appear to me, and in a vision full of majesty, willed me to leave my best vocation and free my country from calamity. Her aid she promised and assured success. In complete glory she revealed herself, and whereas I was black and short before, with those clear rays which she infused on me, that beauty am I blessed with, which you may see. O little pair, close now your weary eyes, and dream of all that shall become of thee. Marguerite. Glory is like a circle in the water, which never ceaseth to enlarge itself, till by broad spreading it disperse to naught.